I am very glad to be here in Ramallah and talk to you and to President Abbas and to your Foreign Minister Maliki. But I would like to do that in different circumstances. It would be another moment, because we are witnessing a tragedy. The European Union is a friend of the Palestinian people, and when I'm saying a tragedy, I'm making reference to what's happening in Gaza, what has happened in Israel, and what is happening, the situation in the West Bank. In Gaza, there are already thousands of civilian victims. About half of them are children. There is a severe shortage of food, water, electricity, fuel, everything. Yesterday I was briefed by the United Nations, organizations working. The situation is critical from the point of view of the working of hospitals, with a collapse of the health systems and a grave lack of medicines and medical supplies. We can say that the 7th of October, the terrorist attack of the 7th of October, changed the paradigm of already fragile situation. On the 7th of October, following the Hamas attack, I said that Hamas has harmed the Palestinian people and the Palestinian cause. Nothing can justify what Hamas did to the people they attack, with brutality and taking hostages, women, children, elderly people, and provoking such an intense Israeli response. Every civilian life is deplorable when it's lost. We condemn Hamas for this terrorist attack in the strongest terms. We urge them to free the hostages and to give immediate access to them to the Red Cross or Red Crescent. I met with several of their relatives who described the difficult health condition of many of them. But the European Union has also firmly stressed that the way that Israel performed its right to defense matters, that Israel needs to respect international humanitarian law and the principle of proportionality, and I passed this message yesterday face to face in very clear terms to the Israeli authorities with which I met. A horror doesn't justify another horror. And the best friends of Israel are the ones who ask them not to be driven by rage. The European Union, and now also the United Nations, through the last United Nations Security Council resolutions adopted yesterday, has demanded an immediate humanitarian pause and more access to the humanitarian assistance, including water and fuel, that can reach the civilian in Gaza. We at the European Union, since the start of the Israeli military campaign against Hamas, we have multiplied by 4 our humanitarian assistance to the people in Gaza to almost 100 million, and have increased our funding for UNRWA by another 10 million, bringing the funding over 90 million this year. But we know it's not enough. We know that humanitarian needs are immense, and to provide everything that more than 2 million people need is a gigantic effort. And the international community should be able to provide this assistance. Mr. Prime Minister, the war against Hamas in Gaza is the outcome of a collective political and moral failure of the international community. A great political and moral failure for which the Israelis and the Palestinian people are paying a high price. And only a political solution can end this untenable cycle of violence. Only political solution can stop it. And that's why I am on this tour, starting by Israel, following by Ramallah, to visit you, Palestinian Authority, in order to work with our partners on a way forward and look at what should be done for this war to end and how to create a better future based in peace. And allow me to put on the table some ideas for the work that we have done. Because these dramatic events, at least, has taken the Palestinian issue out of the limbo.
Yes.
Nobody was taking seriously this problem. And now there is not another solution than to take it very much seriously. And this, the mental framework in which I think we have to work is, first, I can summarize it in 3 yes and 3 no's. And the first no is no to forced displacement of Palestinians in and from Gaza. No forced displacement of Palestinian people out of Gaza. No territorial changes. No to the reoccupation by Israel or a safe haven for Hamas in Gaza. No to the dissociation of Gaza from the overall Palestinian issue. The solution for Gaza has to be embedded as part of the solution to the whole Palestinian problem. So, no dissociation of Gaza from the overall Palestinian issue. And now the yeses, the yes. The first yes is the return of the Palestinian Authority to Gaza. I am saying the Palestinian Authority. You are already there. You never left Gaza. You have been providing public services to the population with our support. You have the capacity to continue doing this job. Maybe you will need support from the international community, but the Palestinian Authority has to return to Gaza. The second yes that we need is a stronger involvement of the Arab countries. And the third one is a greater involvement of the European Union, in particular on the political process in building the Palestinian state. We have a certain experience on state building in Europe, and we should engage on that in order to build the Palestinian state as a part of the two-state solution. But we should not forget the situation in the West Bank. Mm-hmm. You know better than I. I discussed also with my Israeli counterpart yesterday, and everybody should be aware that there is an upsurge of settled terrorism since October 7. Since the beginning of the year, 421 Palestinians has been killed in the Western Bank. And since the first days of October, since this dramatic 7th of October, is 202. It means that since this dramatic event started, the same number of Palestinians has been killed in the West Bank that since the beginning of the year until October.
Yeah.
This has increased the number of communities being forced out of their homes. Today there are more than 150 illegal hotspots, which main purpose is to serve as a staging basis for the settlers. We have urged Israeli authorities to address this issue at the highest level to prevent an eruption of violence in the West Bank. Our support to the Palestinian Authority as the only representative of the Palestinian people, the only representative of the Palestinian people, is both political and financial. We are the biggest international donor for the Palestinian people, and we will continue being the biggest financial contribution to the Palestinian Authority working. Because this war has shown us that we cannot, the Palestinian issue, unresolved. However tragic it is now, and it is very tragic, we must seize the momentum to invest in peace and to work towards a solution of the conflict. We have to mobilize the international support for the political process to a two-state solution, a process that has been neglected for too long. The two-state solution is the only viable path to peace, and time has come to define concrete steps to take in order to implement it. Because we have been repeating for years, 30 years since Oslo agreements, two-state solution, without doing what is needed to implement that in practice. This is, Prime Minister, my message here in Ramallah. This is what I said yesterday in Israel. I'm saying the same thing in both places. And this is the message I will carry on my next destination, in Manama, in Riyadh, in Doha, and in Amman. Prime Minister, in September, remember, in New York, we launched the Peace Day effort to support to restart the peace process. At that moment, it was a lot of skepticism. And nobody was taking care of this effort unless you, me, and some of my people working with a vision about the need to deal with this problem. And today the current tragedy only forces us to redouble this effort for the benefit of the Palestinian people, so that they can finally live in freedom, peace and prosperity and dignity, side by side with the Israeli people living in peace and security. That's what we want to do. Count on the European Union as a predictable and reliable partner that remain and will continue with the Palestinian people in order to get this goal. Difficult it could be. More difficult today than yesterday. At least today is in the front page of all newspapers around the world. And this is a momentum in which the conscience of the international community has to mobilize in order to avoid a greater disaster. Because if there is not peace here in the Middle East, we will not be secure at home neither. Thank you.